Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 17th of September, comes to you from London. And a sea of red on my screen this morning just tells me the markets are seeing quite a fall here. We've got a couple of currencies up in the green, but the only real things up are the VIX volatility and the German bond future. So we're just seeing really a sell-off taking hold here. So we've got the dollar index actually jumping a little bit yesterday on the Fed's comments, so it's looking a bit better short term, but we do still have these downside targets, and the medium and long-term charts are, of course, still bearish. And the euro is just weakened against that stronger dollar, but we are in this consolidation pattern on the euro. Against the yen, the dollar is sitting at 104.82. That's the first time below 105 for several weeks, and sterling sitting at 129.34. Brexit fears have been weighing heavily on sterling, but it is just looking a little bit better against that weaker dollar, and it has climbed against the euro in the last few days as well, so just seeing a little bit of a recovery coming in there. Looking at Bitcoin, we're sitting at $10,900. We jumped yesterday. We have been trending up on the short-term chart. The long-term still looking pretty good. Medium-term finding support as well, so Bitcoin not looking too bad. But it's the markets that we're really most interested in, and the S&P 500 index was down a further 0.5% last night. We are in the short-term bear zone, of course. We haven't yet activated this downside target from the sell-off. New lows would do that, so we need to watch for that. And if we look at the Nasdaq, it was down as well yesterday, so we are just sitting bearish below the cloud. Again, we haven't activated these downside targets. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute charts, long-term, medium-term, and short-term view. This bearish engulfing candle hanging over the market of a couple of weeks ago, and that's really the sentiment at the moment. Will we make a new high? But for the moment, we are in short-term bear mode. The Dow is also below its cloud on the 60-minute chart, and if we look at the futures today, they're down significantly. We've got the S&P future down 1.3% and the Nasdaq E-mini down 1.6% as we speak. So US markets look set to open quite a bit lower, and as I mentioned, we've got the VIX volatility actually up, so that's just kicked right up in the last session. So we are seeing now a big jump in the VIX, up 7%. So uncertainty returning to markets. The FTSE future in the UK is down just under 1%, and the cash market in Germany is down 1%. The DAX index is down 1%. So that's deteriorating as well. And the CAC Quarante is down just under 1%. And we're seeing these charts just starting to fall away here. We're not anywhere near the US charts, which did manage to make new highs in Europe. Japan is down 0.5%. The Hang Seng was down 1.6%. That long-term downtrend is continuing there, and we're bearish below the cloud. And the Shanghai market was down 0.4%. India was down 0.65%, and the Aussie market was down 1.2%. It really has struggled, the Aussie market, to get back to any sign of bearish bullishness. Taking a look at gold, we're seeing a sell-off here as well, which is quite interesting because normally you would expect gold to appreciate with this sort of market uncertainty, but we are actually seeing gold selling off as well, so we are short-term bearish at the moment. We do have a downside target. We haven't quite made a bearish move on the point and figure chart yet. Silver also looking less good as well. It's come back below the cloud. The long-term charts are still very bullish, of course. US 10-year yield sitting steady at 0.68, and as I mentioned, the German bond future is actually looking stronger this morning, back into bullish mode. We found support on the cloud there. Taking a quick look at the energy mix, we've got Brent crude just back below $42. Brent actually jumped yesterday. It had this big ascending triangle pattern, and it jumped and ran, but we've exhausted those targets. No clear upside targets from here. We are seeing a little bit of a sell-off. We do on the 60-minute chart have a downside target not yet activated, but most of all we did activate this downside target to around $30 on the longer term chart. So even though we bounced, we activated that before we did so. And if we look at WTI, we do have a downside target some 4% lower. So crude coming under pressure. US nat gas sitting at 226. That's also just had a relapse. It was looking a little bit better yesterday, but it's fallen away again. So we're seeing commodities actually generally coming off here. We've got downside targets some 7 to 8% lower. The long-term recovery is still there on the daily chart, but on the 60-minute chart we are bearish and we've got downside targets to play for. Coal is bucking the trend. It's sitting at $58.50 and breaking to new highs. So coal is actually looking better, and it is the one energy product that is holding to new highs there. So that's looking pretty good as a recovery. Emissions have seen a lot of action this week. We had this massive up day of 7%, and interestingly, we're just now pulling back below the 30 euro mark. Still a bullish chart, but we are just seeing a pullback. That's inevitable after such a run last week. But if we look here, we are seeing downside targets back into the 27 zone. So we just really haven't managed to hold that breakout. We've got an upside target to 39 euros, but we need to break to new highs to activate that. So that's quite key. Gas products looking a little bit better this morning in Europe. We've got European gas up 0.5%. And Dutch gas TTF up 0.61% front month. So gas actually looking better, and winter gas also up this morning. So it's bucking the trend. And German power, we're seeing most power products down. German power down 1%. That's in line with emissions and just a general sentiment change at the moment. It's all eyes on what's going to happen when we open in New York today. And so that's the key to watch, just watching these futures. But don't be surprised to see a sell-off in US markets. Primarily because we have had that bearish engulfing candle, and we are just seeing that move lower. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.